Kenya Lionesses made a huge roar, battling it all the way to the final of the Rugby Africa Women's Cup over the weekend, showcasing enthralling rugby and tearing their opponents to pieces before falling to the fancied South Africa in the Cup finale. Across town at the Nyayo National Stadium Gymnasium, the same cannot be said of Kenya's basketball representatives, Kenya Ports Authority and Zitex Sparks, who fell short in the FIBA qualifiers. Over in Turkey, the Harambee Stars have date with destiny as they confront the fancied Lions of Teranga from Senegal in a FIFA international friendly. Can the Stars stand up to the Lions after going down 0-1 to Equatorial Guinea? We have all the details coming up, including our quickfire segment where the familiar guest Barnaba Korir returns ready to break it all down, and it's all about the 2025 Chepsaita cross-country race as well as the roadmap to the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Welcome on board. I'm your host, Isaac Swila Tijan, in the company of Ziti Jimoi, Wakili Japheth Munyendo, and Steve Shitera. And of course, we are glad to have you on board. And now to our question of the day. Today we are asking you, how should the government honor Kenya's sport heroes and heroines? How should the government honor Kenya's sport heroes and heroines? We want to hear from you. Talk to us, 22422, that is the SMS number. And of course, you can also engage us on social media. On Facebook, we've posted this question. You can interact with it, as well as X us at Citizen TV Kenya, at Isaac Swila. And of course, we will be sampling some of your thoughts during and at the tail end of this program. And of course, that question of the day leads us to our lead story of the day. The Kenya Netball Federation says it has put in place robust plans to honor the country's netball federation, the netball player legend Rose Cheche, a former player, team manager and coach who gave Kenya all the honors and shone in her years gone by. But many years down the line, what has become of Rose Cheche? Steve Shitera traced her to her home in Ongatarongai, the outskirts of the city, and filed this report for us.
At the outskirts of Nairobi City in Rongai, Kajiado County, we trace netball legend Rose Cheche. She now lives with her grandson Stanley Cheche. Cheche is today a pale shadow of her former self, largely confined within the compound of this two-bedroom house, relying on her grandson for the day-to-day needs. She recounts how she once nearly lost her life in an accident while in the United States, where she had gone to visit her daughter in 2015.
Msichana aliniita huko vile nimeretire. Unafanya nini Nairobi? So uje unione tu mwezi mmoja alafu niende. Sasa nilipewa miezi 6 ila visa, lakini niliumia kabla siku kufika.
Where she fell from the third on the staircases, and unfortunately she got damaged or injured on one side of the brain, and hence why she cannot coordinate her walking properly. And not only that, with age also, she's also sickly every now and then, but that is something that she's trying to manage.
The years may have rolled by, but Cheche still recalls with nostalgia the glory days when she and her colleagues worked tirelessly to build and popularize netball in Kenya.
Kikoso nimeshinda viko. Ukienda post office welfare section ndio utaona hizi vikombe viko hapa. Ni vile nilipewa kama the best coach.
Fast forward She is weighed down by high cost of medication, a burden she is shouldering alongside her loved ones. Yet the very country she toiled for at her prime has seemingly moved on.
Sikuwa nikifikiria kama nitakuwa vile nilijua bado nitaendelea kupiga firimbi. Lakini kwa bahati mbaya nimekuwa vile niko hivi. Unajua hospitali kila siku bado naenda tu. Ni maelfu hiyo. Kama juzi walitoa 26,000. Kupimwa kama figo ni nzuri, nini nzuri. Wanatoa tu kama mifuko zao.
What the government needs to do is at least cater for their welfare in terms of health, because as they age, you'll discover or realize that they tend to ail every now and then. So the government at least can have something for them. The story about money for the elderly is a little bit dicey, because some get, some don't. Like her, she doesn't. And so that now that it doesn't come, now that forces the entire family to chip in at whatever moment. Yeah.
According to Kenya Netball Federation President Immaculate Kabudha, the country owes a great debt to Rose Cheche for her immense contribution to the establishment and growth of netball in Kenya.
Rose Cheche is one of our legends. She was a very important lady in the introduction of netball to this country, and we do remember her, plus others who are there, and they made a platform for us now, because when we came in, we actually met netball, although it was not affiliated to Africa region and the world. We did affiliate to Africa and to the world, and that's how we started our ranking. Before then, they used to have what we call Ghana and Africa. So they played a very, very big role in the development of the game in those years.
Kenya starts strong.
Kabudha says Kenya has improved its world rankings, attributing the progress to deliberate efforts to make the sport vibrant across the country.
We are now position 23 in the world ranking from 25 last year, and we are going to get more. We are going to move up before the end of the year, because we have already won the Singline Nations Cup in Singapore, which was also a world ranking game.
And we were just talking about her during the break about her post.
But as the sport gains visibility locally and globally, thanks to the foundation laid, one of the pioneers of the sport is facing difficult times. In the meantime, President William Ruto is building his legacy around sports, but the irony of it all is the sad tale of many legends, including Rose Cheche, who in their sunset years have been forgotten. But she holds on to hope that just maybe someday the state will reach out to salvage her dire situation. Steve Shitera for Sporty Monday, Nairobi.
Sad story there, of course. A legend forgotten, and that forms our question of the day. We are asking you, in your view, how should the government honor or treat the sports heroes and heroines? In your view, how should the government honor or treat the sports heroes and heroines? We want to hear your thoughts. 22422, SMS number. We're also on X, where you can X us at Isaac Swila, at ZTGMoi, at Citizen TV. We'll be sampling some of them. And of course, you can also send it via text message to 22422. As earlier promised, we have familiar guest, should I call him, or a resident guest, Barnaba Korir. He's already in studio, and we'll be engaging him rather in the quick fire segment. And today we are discussing the matters. Chepsaita cross-country run that is primed for December. He's the race director. He has all the answers. He is also the vice president of the NOC, and they held a seminar in Machakos County, Roadmap to LA 2028. What are the things that were discussed? Of course, we will be seeking those answers from him. That is in our quick fire segment. You don't want to miss that. Back to you, ladies and gentlemen. Wakili,
yes.
I'll start with you. You followed through the story by Steve. That's Rose Cheche. Actually, she turned for Kenya in the 70s, late 70s and early 80s. But you've seen her situation now. She's 70, basically forgotten by everyone, including the country she served.
First of all, I want to wish her a quick recovery. It's a sad state of affairs in whatever she's passing through, given her age and the quality of services she rendered to the country and club. You know, when you hear, she mentioned Kekoso.
Kekoso again,
yeah, Kekoso, yeah. Her speech is a bit blurry, but when she mentions Kekoso, when we were transiting from the colonial setup to now the African government setup, there are those games which the government or interministerial sports, different departments and different institutions played in those interministerial sports, and Kekoso played a very huge part. You know, there's a time I was reading some history on when the first professional club in football was. I'm sure none of you will be privileged to know. It was neither Luo Union, it was neither Gor Mahia, it was neither.
Wakili, are you claiming you are 20 years older than us?
I know, right?
It was Volcano. There was a team known as Volcano United, and the reason it is deemed to be the first professional side it is because they issued a contract. Now, why have I brought in this? It's because most of these people were either playing for Gor Mahia and Luo Union or FC Leopards were mainly getting employed by most of the ministries, Kenya Airways, Teleposta, KPTC, and that's where you will see them featuring for the national team. You remember even the late Mariga's mom, who was buried the other day. She also played netball.
Yeah.
And those people, she was playing for Kenya Railways, and even Mzee Wanyama played for Kenya Railways and FC Leopards. You know, he served Kenya Railways. So most of these people, the legends in 70s and 80s, were being employed by different government institutions so that then they could represent the institution and also the country. But now it is a very tough call. You know, I do not have a brief from government to hold its brief, but I'm not sure. It's a tough balancing act. If the government was to wade into transforming the lives of all the retired legends in different sports, perhaps...
They don't really have to, Wakili, but I think here there need to be systematic policy in place.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
We have a well laid out structural plan.
Yes.
These, I know right now the government is trying. If you win gold, we gain 4 million and so on, so on and so forth. But overall, how have we treated our legends over the ages? Because even if you look at those guys who were honored during the Heroes' Day, probably there are guys who are now in the media limelight. Ryan Ogama, a young boy, just 20, because of his heroics in Chan. But people like Rose Cheche, I'm sure even if you asked the people who sit at the Minister of Sports boardroom, they'll even ask you, who is that? They have no idea. And we have many Rose Cheches across the country. Probably Shtera's just highlighted one story. We have several tales across the country.
Yeah, there's even an athlete who died, who was buried last week or last week, but one in Kisii, who I think led a very squalor life without necessarily being honored. My take will be this. Yes, this current government, the Kenya Kwanza government or the broad-based government, has really attempted to honor the athletes. But that's one side. You're honoring a medal. Now we need to check on the welfare of the retired persons. But it's not only a government affair. It should perhaps, the duty should perhaps trickle down also to the federation and different stakeholders. Again, I would just advise, I know the income, sports like netball may not be raking a lot of income, but perhaps in their leadership, there must be an attempt to become creative so that you see if you can be able to get not only finances but medical covers. You work out something so that you can
Absolutely.
Get
These are veterans. Actually, in the US, they call them veterans.
Yes.
And the state gives proper treatment to their veterans. And that's what we lack here as Ziti.
I think in football we have KEFA. Is it KEFA?
KEFA, Kenya Footballers Welfare Association.
Yes, if there is that KEFA deal again with the legends or only the active football?
It's active.
Active, yeah.
But not with
it's
the
basically a welfare thing for footballers.
I think that we just have to put structures across the federation that will work, because as I don't want to repeat what my colleague has said, Wakili, that of course there's a lot of money that is being dish out, like giving congratulations. Ukiona huyu ni mgonjwa tuseme saizi wacha tumchangie tumpeleke hospitali because she's not feeling well. But again, each and every federation needs to come up with structures on how to honor their legends. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many age, it doesn't matter anything, but need and the medical cover, because that is something that actually federation don't have.
That should be a basic requirement for every human being.
Yes.
Yeah, not just athlete. Actually, I know in the Western world, even if you are to visit there on a temporary visa, one of the things the French government or Italian government or German government would require. I'm inviting Shitera to come and visit me for 30 or 90 days. Is he medically covered during that time that he's going to visit me?
It's crucial.
So that's a basic human need. And also for athletes, some of them have actually had to retire early after picking these injuries. And really, medical care is not there.
And that is something that is really eating a lot of athletes. Look at even in football, a lot of players have retired, as you've said. Not even in football, even in basketball, even in this netball, in all these federations. Actually, because there's no medical cover in every player. That thing should be in the federation, whereby every team that comes in the every team that is being registered as a team or any team has to have a medical cover. Because even in Premier League, as we speak now, their teams maybe don't have medical cover. But
for football, right now, the compliance, before you feature in the top tier league, there is now a demand for some statutory compliance, the statute being the CAF club licensing regulations. So before you are awarded a license and deemed or be cleared to feature in the league, you must demonstrate that you have a medical cover.
But does it work? You can have it.
You went to Kajiado, had a sit-in with the family. Let's have order. You went there, had a sitting with the Rose and the family. Probably, as the producer of the story, from where you sit, what do you think probably the state can do at this point in time for her?
I think if you followed keenly the story, I think Rose Cheche is about 75, 76.
70.
Yeah, she's over 70. The grandson said that now leave alone honoring her as a legend, even the pesa ya wazee hapati. Did you hear that? Yeah, and she qualifies because she's in that age bracket. And now you see that they are not demanding for heavens because she got an accident, and they are really struggling to raise the money for medication. In fact, the problem is money for medication. Medication is very expensive in Kenya, and that is what is really weighing them down, because you can see she's living with a grandson who has to take care of her, who has to take care of her every need. Remember, she's incapacitated, her movement is limited, and in this sense she needs to be with someone 24/7, meaning that she has to have someone who is completely with her and does not do any other job. That is the picture that we have seen. The committee that usually selects our heroes and heroines for recognition during Mashujaa Day, I think there is so much they should do. They should really employ research to ensure that they reach each and every corner of this country. They reach every corner of the disciplines, because as you said, they will tend to go for the popular sports, probably athletics and football.
Athletes,
athletics and football. And if they go deeper, probably volleyball and rugby. That is it. Wakili, I think, is the Secretary General of Taekwondo in Kenya. No. Are we honoring these people?
He's everywhere. He's everywhere, actually.
And by the way, when is it starting?
No, but I'm not the Secretary.
No, I'm just asking, when is it starting?
It should be November. Or December. They're hosting some event.
Yes. Actually, the message is so meant. Actually, we'd call upon the state, actually.
But I don't